Hey, what's going on, friends? My name is John Waldman. I'm a filmmaker based in New York. And today I want to talk about my favorite ND filter. So yeah, this is a 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter from Nisi. After trying many different ND filters over my 8-year career doing filmmaking, I have finally landed on what I think is my favorite variable ND. This is probably my 4th different ND filter I've tried. From all the big brands that you definitely have heard of. I've had issues with tons of different NDs that I've tried in the past, whether it was vignetting, color cast, that weird X pattern that you get when you stop it all the way down. Anyways, I finally feel like I've found an ND that doesn't have any of those issues. There is no color cast. I think that is like the biggest one. Put this on, even when you're stopped down all the way, there is no differences in color whatsoever. I think, that's like one of the big selling features on this. So that is like so amazing because, I've had ones in the past where like it gets weirdly like super yellow. Lots of weird things have happened. Any footage that you are seeing throughout this video was shot with this ND filter on the front, so any like B-roll. One example is I just took a Euro trip over the summer. I went to Berlin and Prague. This ND filter was living on my camera and pretty much use this when I'm using my FX3 because that camera doesn't have internal ND, so this is my ND of choice. This is a 1 to 5 stop ND, which is nice. I feel like some other ones that are on the market start at 2. So I do, like having it starting at 1 and then you get to go all the way down to 5. And then on that note, as I'm holding it, the build quality is fantastic. The glass is great. Some good hard metal. It doesn't feel cheap at all. And I do like that it's kind of like a declicked aperture. You could slowly dial in your exposure with micro adjustments so there's no weird, jumping or hard stops. Also love how there is a filter thread on the front, so you could toss something like a mist filter in front or a polarizer. Yeah, the price is right. I think it's what, $220, and that's for the 82mm version. All of my lenses have 82mm filter threads, the step-up rings, but I think the price is right. I've bought more expensive ones, and again, I don't want to crap on any other brands. Tried them all. This one's my favorite. So also, I lost it, a little nub, and you could hold it and you could do your little twisting and your micro adjustments. I gotta find a replacement for it maybe, but it's like a nice little thing and you like twist the thing around. Again, that's like really nice. You don't actually have to go here and, maybe accidentally get your finger in frame. Also, another thing I do like, comes with this really nice pouch. Love me a good filter pouch. I usually do keep all my filters in here. This little Tiffin filter pouch, I could fit 4 filters in here. Usually I'll have this ND filter, my circular polarizer, and then 1 or 2 mist filters, or I do have another bigger ND filter, a 6 to 9 stop, but I don't really use that much, so yeah. And also, I think I mentioned this before, but the build quality is so nice. It's built like a tank. Don't cheap out on filters. You have some nice lenses. You want to put nice glass in front of that, and whether that's ND filters, polarizer, a special effects filter, a mist filter, whatever it might be, don't cheap out, because if you just start putting, crappy filters in front of your lenses, it makes no sense, because then you're just lowering the quality of your expensive lens. Well, who knows if your lens is expensive or not, but anyways, spend your money on filters, buy nice or buy twice. This is, again, my 4th ND filter I've been on, and now I could say I could finally recommend this one wholeheartedly. It's very, very nice. So that might ask the question, why do you even need an ND filter? So when you are out shooting, you need to make sure you are maintaining that 180-degree shutter rule. And what do I mean by that? If you're shooting at 24 frames a second, your shutter should be at 1/48th a second or 1/50th a second. If you're shooting at 60 frames a second, 1/120 or 1/125th shutter, etc., etc., etc. With my Sony FX6, I have shutter angle, so I just keep it at a 180-degree shutter angle. But if your camera does shutter speed, you always have to make sure your shutter speed is double your frame rate. Let's say, all right, this camera, the base ISO is 800. You want to shoot an f1.4, you want that blurry bokeh, and you want to shoot at 24 frames a second. Without any ND filter, it's going to be completely blown out. Now, you could stop the lens down, but that's going to take away the look that you were just going for. Then you might think, oh, well, I could just crank my shutter. It helps keep that natural motion blur. And when I first started, I used to be a shutter cranker, 60 frames a second. I remember on my A7S II, I would crank it to 1 500th of a second. But after a while, you could actually kind of see, well, A, that's wrong, and B, you could see it with your eyes. It looks like an action movie. It's just like very jarring, too sharp. I'm shooting at 24 frames a second with, or 180-degree shutter. You get that natural motion blur. Now, if I was to crank the shutter up, it would just look a lot more shaky and jarring. You know, keep your settings correct. It makes your footage look better, and after a long time, you will be able to notice it. I could pick it out and it looks wrong. Obviously, there is instances where you can crank your shutter, and that is totally fine. You know, if it's for an artistic choice, that's fine. But for the most part, you always want to follow the 180-degree shutter rule. And the main way to do that is by having an ND filter. So I'd say that if you're buying any filter to start with, it should be an ND filter. That is the most important. That is it for today. I hope this was helpful in some way. This is my favorite variable ND filter. It's bringing me a ton of value, and honestly, I really can't recommend it enough. Y'all know the deal. Cheers. Bye.